Welcome to the Short Rod Show. You're talking with Ben.
And Brett.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We're on episode number 6. Today we're talking about Ben's setup, my setup.
Yeah, gear dump.
Gear dump episode. Wanted to get with you guys and just talk a little bit about what we like about our setups, what we found to work really well, and just basically explain why we chose what we chose for each of us. So,
or if we'd go in a different direction. If we got something we don't like.
There's stuff we'd change. We'll talk about that too.
Yep.
Awesome. Coming up after the break on
The Short Rod Show.
Hey there, guys. If you've been over to our website lately over at shortrodshow.com and like what you see, you should get in touch with our partners over at Evergrow Marketing. They're a digital marketing agency that works primarily with landscape and lawn care businesses, but they also work with guys like us. They can help your business show up on Google and also get you a lot more customers through their unique digital marketing methods. Reach out to them over at evergrowmarketing.com and make sure you mention that Ben and Brett sent you from the Short Rod Show podcast to get an additional 10% off your first bill.
Ben and I would really like to thank our listeners. Since we've aired this podcast, we've gotten an unbelievable fan response. We just want to remind you guys where you can reach us at shortrodshow.com. You can feel free to email us or follow our newsletter. You can also find us on any of your podcasting platforms, Apple Podcast, Podbean, Stitcher, and Spotify. Also follow us on Facebook, The Short Rod Show, and anytime you see those 5 little stars, please hit number 5.
All right, welcome back, guys. Coming at you from inside our Otter Pro XT Lodge. We're actually recording inside the Otter today, doing our gear dump episode. And just really excited to share with you guys what I run for a setup.
Yeah, you should see the spread. There's not hardly room for us in here.
Glad we got the big otter.
Got the big otter. So yeah, Ben, why don't you go into a little bit why you chose Otter, why you chose the XT Lodge? I mean, there's definitely a lot of options out there, and kind of what brought you to this conclusion.
Sure, no problem. Did a lot of research as most of you would for a big purchase before I went out and got my Otter. And just wanted to get something that was going to last and hold up. You know, the first shelter I had was basically an old Fraybill stand-up hideout, 2 to 3 man, has the really cheap plastic sled, non-insulated, the pretty thin nylon
One of those
material.
deals that you get out of it and it blows away.
It did blow away a couple times on me. Chased that thing all the way down the lake really easily. No way to really stake it down.
No.
And just one big setup.
Yep.
And for the size that it was, there wasn't a lot of fishable space. Really, you're looking at maybe 2 feet out from where the sled is, where you sit. You got to bring your own chairs. If you're fishing 3 people, it's really tight. And I just wanted to upgrade from that. I started to realize that ice fishing was a little bit more than a hobby for me. I wanted to go out there and really enjoy my time out on the water as much as possible. So looking around at a couple different brands, I looked at the Eskimo Grizzly. That's probably the top contender next to
So you were pretty well dead set you were going to go for a bigger operation.
Yeah, and I looked at basically how I fish and how I enjoy fishing.
Yep.
I'm out there somewhat by myself, maybe 10 to 20% of the time, not a whole lot. And for those times, I needed something that I could still tote around myself and not have to, have 2 people to pull it.
Yep.
The Otter is on the upper end of that, definitely. But then there's lots of times, too, where I enjoy taking you out, taking a couple of our buddies out at a time. And I wanted to be able to fish 3 people in there pretty easily. And we've even done 4 people.
Oh, yeah. There's room. Yeah, you got two seats, and then you can put 2 people in the front corners. There's plenty of room in this thing.
And the big deciding factor between an Otter and a Grizzly, honestly, was just going on the forums and reading people's feedback and seeing how Otters hold up. I mean, there's Otters on there in the classifieds list from 25, 30 years ago, the old purple ones.
With the camo.
And the ice camo ones. Those aren't even that old, but, they hold up great. And just to see the sleds are holding up, the seats are holding up, the fabric's holding up, it's really cool to see that, and I have all the faith in the world that this Otter is going to hold up.
Well, one thing you see a lot on a lot of shacks is the windows start to break out on you. That seems to be the first thing that goes. And I don't know that I've seen many otters that have those broken out windows.
No, this material they use is like kind of a convertible top type material, so it's made for the elements.
Yep.
And looking to see what guides use, that's really good. A good indicator of what would be a good shelter. If you're going all out like what I kind of did,
Yeah.
I wanted something that would hold up and last me a long time. The guides are all running otters. If they're going out there and letting people rent their equipment, it's going to be an otter, an otter sled, otter shelter. So I went with the pro version too, just because I wanted the more comfortable seats. A bench seat would be nice as well. Maybe I'll convert this one when we have kids and my family gets bigger. But for right now, having the sportsman's caddy in the middle, that's perfect.
That
I love
thing's
that
handy.
thing.
And I mean, that ends up doubling as a seat half the time anyways.
Yep. Yeah, you can use it for a lot of stuff. It's a lot of items inside. Has your cup holders in there. Basically, a really nice setup.
Yep.
To fish out of. So it's the full thermal. The 1200 denier fabric.
Well, I mean, we've had this thing out in the
full
rain
insulation.
before. It's almost waterproof except for where the water puddles up in front of the front stand.
Yep, it holds up really well. It's super warm. Like
Yeah, we're getting
I
hot
can't
here
even,
just now.
It's getting warm in here already, and we don't even have a heater going. But it's really warm. There's lots of accessories for it. I'm an otter fanboy. How's that?
Let's dip into some of those accessories then, because we got a couple of things rigged up here. We'll start out with your power supply. You hear a lot of questions on how am I going to rig up power for my sleds. What was your option?
Well, like we mentioned on some previous podcasts, this whole podcast is powered by DeWalt. So wanted some kind of modular type system to where I didn't have to have a separate flasher battery running accessories in the Otter.
Well, and you already own a lot of those batteries anyways.
I have the drill, the impacts, all the saws, all the kinds of tools that I like to use in the summertime and the wintertime for projects. Come in really handy having those batteries on the ice, and we've had really good luck with them.
Oh yeah.
So I'm running a DeWalt heated jacket adapter on a DeWalt battery, and actually I have specifically the FlexVolt 60 volt 6 amp hour battery powering our whole setup right now in the shelter, and it's held up really well. Made a little aluminum bracket for it to sit inside up on the side of my shelter. If you guys are interested in that, there's a post out on In-Depth Outdoors about using the heated jacket adapters to get your 12 volt power off of a
Look
DeWalt
up
battery.
what's your user? GMC Trucksman?
GMC Trucksman. Yeah, look it up on there. I did a little post on there to share that with people, and it's got some really good feedback. I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, it's got 2 USB ports at the top. Right now, as we're recording this, we're running our recorder off of it and our lights.
And the lights in here running off it. And I mean, I think you could probably run this for 2 days. I don't think it would die off on you.
No problem. And with that, with the Otter lights, they came out with a couple different versions.
Yep.
And I have both. I actually wired both versions together. So
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so we got the first level Otter ones, which are they came out 2 years ago, I think. And then the extreme version came out last year,
which has the dimmer switch. Or no, did you wire that dimmer switch in yourself?
No, they both came with that.
Oh, they both came with a dimmer switch.
So have the dimmer set up. That wasn't even full brightness.
Yeah.
Dang.
Ooh.
So yeah, you can turn it to whatever level you want.
Well, that dimmer switch is real nice, and once you get towards evening, you don't blind yourself when you step outside.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, having the light set up is really nice. Increases the amount of fun you can have at night, and it gets a little scary out there on the ice. You're on the middle of the lake by yourself. You want to have some
you want to be able to
there.
see something out there.
Absolutely.
One day, what I want to do, I've always thought would be fun, is around Christmas time, as you rig up Christmas lights around the back outside of your
Maybe
shack.
we'll do that this year. That would be cool. Run those off. What
other accessories? So you mentioned the Sportsman's Caddy. I see you got the hooks.
Yeah,
those hooks are really handy, especially in the front to dry stuff off.
Yeah, if you hang the any kind of hook. I mean, I have the Otter version just because they're snap in basically. But if you're running a heater in the front, I run a Big Buddy heater in my shelter, and you hang your coat up over top of it just to make sure you don't melt it. But that'll dry your gear out as you go, and it also just helps to just keep everything off the ice, and just your gear management is really a critical thing when you're out ice fishing.
Well, that's what's nice about this big sled and stuff is you can literally fit everything in this sled.
Everything. Yep.
There's nothing that you don't have to hand carry anything if you don't want to.
Yep. The only downside to this setup is it's pretty heavy. I mean, this Otter shelter is 120 pounds empty without any gear in it.
And we're loading that in the back of the truck.
Yep, we're loading it up. I have a little 8-foot ramp that I use, just a wooden 2x8 with a little ramp set up to slide this in. But I can do it by myself, no problem. Run it up the ramp that way. I see guys make like winches in their pickup. Yep. They're getting a drill powered winch or a 12-volt winch to winch up.
Well, do you think that Hyfax kit actually helps, or do you think that's just an added thing?
I think it does. I think it does.
I almost feel like they should be just putting that on standard. Like, it's just an extra $40 that they're just trying to kind of gouge you.
Yeah, the hard part about all these accessories is they add up really fast.
Yeah.
And one good thing that really helped was buying this whole setup at the ice show. Yep. I think the only thing we had to get separately was the Hyfax kit? We went to Fleet Farm.
Yeah, we picked that up on our way home.
And they ran out of them at the show. But
just
having, I think normally at the St. Paul show, it's 20% off accessories from pretty much any brand. Yep. So, save $15, $20 per accessory. That's pretty good.
That adds up pretty quick. And another add-on I see you did this year was add the keychains to the zippers. That's pretty clutch. When you got big gloves on and stuff, and your hands get cold, those zippers are kind of a bear to grab. So
grab those at a recruiting event. So grab some cheap, free keychains. Yep. Run them through on the split rings over your zippers, and I need to get a couple more for the back door here too, but we don't use that.
I don't know if I've ever even opened it.
Yeah, it's handy for pulling gear out of the side of the sled, but and this model is not the step through model. This is just the standard
front and back.
Older Otter model, but
yeah,
really enjoy fishing out of this, and like we said on the last episode, Brett and I fish almost equally out of each other's shelters. So just having this setup that can be pretty mobile. If it's going to be really windy out, we're going to go normally with the Otter. Yeah. If it's going to be just on a small lake somewhere, we want to kind of camp out. We can make food in here.
That's the number one thing for this one is the camp out lodge.
Yeah, a little more recreational type fishing. We'll do this. If we're running and gunning, we're probably in Brett's shelter, pulling that around real quick.
I mean, the sportsman's caddy holds 30 beers real nice.
Yep, exactly.
What else you got on here? We can pivot to some gear if you. Yeah. I mean, you got the hitch to the front. What do you think of that
definitely.
Hitch?
We're excited to try the hitch out some more. We've actually tried it a couple times. We do a trip up to Minnesota normally, and pull this behind a snowmobile or a Ranger, and it's worked really well each time. But it has the Otter hitch pivot, so there's no question about going up and over berms, especially getting down to some lakes.
Yep.
Going down a steep hill and then getting onto the lake, you're not gonna break your hitch or bend anything. And it's just held up really well and really sturdy. So having a solid hitch is definitely the way to go.
Not just roping it to the back.
My old shelter, we broke the rope a couple times, slinging that thing around. If you're slamming on the brakes, what's going to happen. It's going to run.
Well, especially too, if we start running this quad, you're really technically only supposed to have one person on the quad. So a lot of times either I'll be walking if we take this sled, or I'll be riding in the sled.
Plan on just sitting on the seat and
I think that'll work well.
Pivot this around sideways.
Yep.
And just kick your feet up and away you go.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. Maybe we'll get a little flag to hang out the back as we're zipping across the lake.
There we go. Yeah. Short Rod Show flag. We need to start.
We need to get some sort of branding on the ice.
We should do a little vinyl wrap or something on this.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe we get a little patch or something to put on our sleds so people can spot us.
Yeah, people will see us in that quad setup from a mile away.
Yeah, that'll be
They'll
awesome.
know it's the Short Rod Show coming to you.
Yeah, well, let's pivot to some gear. You got your backpack hanging up. I know. So we got plenty of area to move and keep stuff stored in here, but that backpack's a pretty integral part of your equipment.
Yeah, that was just last year. I actually bought it at Walmart on clearance for I think $5.
Yeah, it's just a regular book bag.
It's like a cheap
special.
Kids camo backpack. Initially I was going to run my lithium shuttle in it and just use that as a case, which it does fit it. It works okay for that, but I've kind of changed to just storing gear, tackle. That's kind of my grab bag. So I have all my stuff I need to go fishing with when I go with Brett. When I come back here, I can throw it in the sled, and I still have everything that I need all in one place. So it's got all my jigs in it. Has that Widowmaker plastic bait wallet, which is really cool. Can store everything in there. And
we keep the batteries in there a lot of times.
Keep the batteries warm, somewhat warm.
That's the key for the electric stuff. As handy as it is out there, keeping those batteries warm, that's the key out there.
Yeah. The DeWalt ones hold up pretty well out on the ice, but you can't just set them right down in the ice.
No.
And expect them to hold up very well. So just having some kind of insulated place to carry batteries is nice.
Yep. And, I mean, that bag has plenty of storage to keep everything, all your gear. I mean, that backpack I run, too, I mean, I keep extra pair of gloves. I keep anything that I'm not currently using, I can keep that in there. And, yeah, like you mentioned, you can just grab and go and rock and roll.
Yep. Awesome. And then my auger setup, we talked about a little bit in the first episode, but
yeah,
really can't say enough good things about having a electric option auger.
Well, so what exactly am I looking at here? Tell me all the different pieces that you had to buy for this auger.
So mine's definitely a home built type setup that's got a lot of different pieces to it, but I'm running a 7-inch laser auger from StrikeMaster.
Hand auger.
And it is just their standard hand auger.
Yep.
So 7-inch found to be a really good compromise between a 6-inch hole, which generally is going to freeze over a little bit quicker than an 8-inch hole. But at the same time, an 8-inch hole, you're not going to get as many holes per charge. Just going through making something 8 inches.
Yeah, I really like that 7. That was the first time I've had experience with a 7-inch hole, and that's a beautiful combination between both 6 and 8.
They're the only thing that I don't like about it is they're just not as common to find blades.
I mean, you got to order everything online.
You order it online. I mean, they're on Amazon. You can get them at your bait shops. They just may not stock
carry it
all the time.
Yep.
Have an auger extension from Clam on there. That really helped just make it a little more ergonomic when you're drilling through. You don't want to be bending over, drilling holes through the ice.
So especially as the ice gets thicker, when you're really having to bend over, you're getting into a foot and a half of ice. That starts to eat up quite a bit of that bit, and you're bending over quite a bit.
Yep.
And when we're kind of like we like to do, running and gunning, chasing bass and crappies, having that extra extension, pulling it out, and being able to stand upright really keeps you going a lot longer.
I think it's only maybe 18 inches.
Yep.
It just adds just the right amount to it. But that auger extension, is very hard to find late in the year, especially if it's if we've had a lot of ice. So get that early season because when you need an auger extension, say you're up fishing in Canada or northern Minnesota with really thick ice, you're not going to be able to find one.
No.
So that's a good item to buy early season. And that's hooked to the clam plate. And this is their latest version. I guess it's maybe 4 years old, but is the version that you do not have to remove the chuck from your drill.
I don't know who came up with that
to
version.
Fit that in.
Just seems
crazy.
It seems like an engineer that made that, and then they just produced it. Like there was no thought process between making the idea and production.
Yep.
And no one was like, hey, why don't we just make it so it fits into the chuck rather than having to take the whole chuck off?
And it only fit with certain drills. I mean, I know you could use it with a DeWalt, but only certain DeWalt ones. And if you've ever tried to take a chuck off of a drill, it's a pain.
Maybe there was a patent in there somewhere that they had to get permission to, I don't know, make the chuck that size.
Something.
I don't know.
It's strange.
But
having that clam plate just provides some extra stability and keeps your drill off the ice. You can definitely get away running it without it. I did that for a little while and had the DeWalt plastic handle on the side of the drill. But these drills have a lot of power and a lot of torque. And when you're out on the ice, especially that last little bit at the bottom of the hole, and you twist it wrong, it can hurt your wrist pretty bad.
I think, for me, that clam plate is definitely an extra. It's not something that you have to drill the holes. But if you're out there digging a bunch of holes, it's nice. It's real easy on the wrists. And it just feels more natural as, your normal augers. But then, also it keeps that drill off the ice. I mean, that drill is by far the most expensive part of this operation. Mm-hmm. Keeping that off the ice and out of the water, I think is pretty key.
And it wouldn't be a short rod show setup without being powered by DeWalt. So of course we have the
DeWalt XR,
the big DeWalt drill, which is the DCD996, the hammer drill, brushless. They're Mac Daddy of all drills.
So you turn that. You got 3 options on it. You got hammer, drill, screw, and drill.
Yep.
You keep it on the drill bit.
Leave her right on the drill setting. Yep. You don't want the hammer mode on. You don't want to have any kind of clutch settings either. Nope. I don't even think I've tried it, but it probably would just kind of stall
It'd
out.
just stall out on you.
Because it takes a lot of power to turn.
What do you like to run it at? You got 3 settings on there. What do you like to run it at? 1, 2, or 3?
Speed 1 normally.
Speed 1, yeah.
Early ice, I mean, even late ice, you can run it on 2.
3, I don't think there's any point. You'd just be running too fast. You just make little shavings. And
yeah, I don't think it has enough torque on 3.
No.
On 2, it's too fast. I mean, you're punching through and
you're going to get wet because it's gonna auger up water at you
everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, normally just run it on 1. And then for batteries, big fan of the flex volt batteries, just to get that added capacity. Especially, it seems like when batteries get cold, the more cells you have inside there, the better they hold up in the cold. And most of the time when we're out tournamenting, we have the 9 amp
on there.
flex volt. It's not their biggest battery now. They came out, I think, with a 12 amp hour. But the 9 amp hour will... we can't wear it out.
Yep.
I don't think we've ever.
The only time we've had it where it kind of stalls a little bit is when it's super, super cold outside and we just left the drill outside.
Yep.
Used it, to hold down the skirting or something when it's windy.
Yep.
And then that battery gets real cold, but we always have a backup battery ready to roll. And you don't have to have the flex volt. I mean, I've run the 5 amp hour batteries, and they work just as well. They just don't have that same amount of power. You might not get quite as many holes. I'd say with the drill, with this kind of setup, is you don't necessarily have to have a DeWalt, but it does need to be a lithium-powered drill.
Yeah,
it needs to be
preferably brushless.
Brushless. Yeah, I've seen guys out there with the DeWalt 18-volt old style, and they get about 5 holes, and then that thing, it craps out. It doesn't have it can't handle the cold as well as the lithium, and then it kind of dies out on you. So, I mean, you hear questions all over the internet. Well, can I buy the Rigid? Can I buy the Milwaukee? Can I buy the DeWalt? Which one's best? Which one's best? And really, I think they're all pretty well the same.
They're all going to work pretty well as long as you have enough. They talk about inch pounds and having enough torque to run it. I think 500 inch pounds is what they recommend. DeWalt doesn't even rate their drills in that, so you're basically going off of what other people are running. And Milwaukee drills are great.
I think Milwaukee technically has the highest torque power, but that doesn't matter really.
We've just had really good luck running this setup.
Yeah, I like those extra large flexible batteries.
It's punching holes all over. When it was raining out, we threw a fairway bag over the top.
Yeah, tied a fairway bag over it and just drilled it with the bag over top of it to make it waterproof. And I was a little worried at first. It was like, oh, shoot, I wonder if I don't know if that motor's going to suck in a little bit or exactly how that exhaust is going to work, or I don't know. I mean, I just didn't know. Yep. It's not like I really thought about it too hard, but you just didn't know exactly how it was going to work.
It was no problem.
You didn't have to you didn't have to access the trigger on the drill. You just, as long as you could trigger the clamp plate, that worked beautifully with that fairway bag on top.
Perfect.
Keep it dry.
Can't say enough good things about it.
Well, go into a little story about how you had to get new batteries last year.
Yeah, so that was kind of a bummer. Turns out lithium-ion batteries, the FlexVolt batteries especially, are not waterproof.
No.
So they might be somewhat water resistant, but unfortunately had a minnow bucket tip over in the base of the otter sled.
Yep.
And my batteries spilled out into them and landed terminal side down.
Yeah, so, I think that was the problem.
The electronics in that battery were just soaking
and they sat in
minnow
there
water
all night.
Didn't notice it. Come out the next morning, and I had basically rusty terminals on these FlexVolt batteries. But luckily for me, DeWalt has a good warranty on them. I wasn't sure what to expect. I dried them out, took them in. They looked at the date on them and said, yep, they're covered. Here you go. Swapped me out for some new ones.
Yeah. I mean, customer service to me, like I had mentioned in earlier episodes, customer service is number one. That's a big deal when I'm considering a purchase. And DeWalt right there just sent you right new ones.
And
it
does help. I mean, we're in the Des Moines area, so they have a service center here in Des Moines.
Yep.
If you had to, even ship them in somewhere, that's not the end of the world. But, yeah, pretty impressed with that.
Worked out real well. All right, moving over to the flashers now. We got two flashers
side
sitting in front of us.
Yeah, we talked
Both
a little
of them
bit.
are red, I see.
I'm a big fan of the red flashers. They stood up pretty well. The VX1 I have over here had to get rebuilt from Markham. Did their flat rate repair. I think it's $100.
You said 90 in the last episode.
$90, $100. Man, hold me to it. I like it.
Somebody's going to comment on it if you don't.
Oh, I know. We'll hear about it. But yeah, the VX1, use that more as a backup unit, or it's just an extra unit. If someone is fishing with me that's new, doesn't have their own flasher, they're welcome to use that anytime. Just the standard Markham flasher.
What do you have to power that? Did you go lithium, or do you just run a regular
I
lead
just ran
acid?
the regular battery.
Lead acid
I think
on the
it's
back?
got a 9 amp on there.
As a
at least.
backup, it's tough to spend just as much money on the battery as you did on the flasher.
Yep. And then in a previous episode, we talked about the LX6 on the lithium shuttle.
Yeah.
And that's my go-to. I'm out there using that every day. So we don't need to talk too much about that.
I think lithium power really kind of changed the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can it can handle the cold fairly decent, and it packs a heck of a punch when you're looking at DeWalt and the lithium shuttle.
I think
you're rarely running out of juice anymore.
Yeah. The next thing I want to try would be the DeWalt battery in the VX1.
If you can figure out how to run an adapter.
Yeah, I could run the same adapter and just have positive and negative coming out. Run it off there.
We'll go a little deeper into that for a second. I'm interested in that because that's what I don't want to buy a new lead acid battery this year.
Yeah, let's try it out.
And I haven't been charging it like you told me.
They make this generic adapter that I got for the shelter, the heated jacket adapter.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect to try. We just slap that on a DeWalt battery. It's got a 2.1 millimeter output, with the center pin that's positive.
And I can just plug my wires into that?
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh,
It
man.
costs $20 and a DeWalt battery, which you have some batteries.
Dude. Well, how it works is, so this is how I've got my last batteries. $100. Usually there's a Black Friday sale.
Mm-hmm.
$100 for 2 5-amp DeWalt batteries. Or I think you can get FlexVolt batteries now too, maybe, during that Black Friday sale.
Do it.
What I'll do is I'll buy a new pack of that, because that's already going to cost me as much as a lithium battery would cost me anyways.
True.
Like a Dakota Lithium, or they got those amped outdoor ones now I see. Buy that pack, and then I can use them all year round. I'll have extra batteries.
Yep.
And then if I pick up that deal for $20, dude, we're in the money.
Because what I'm interested in would be like a 5-amp DeWalt battery is 5 amp hours at 18 volts, 20 volts.
20 volts.
So
which I'm not using 20 volts.
What does that equate to, though, when it's in 12 volts?
Yeah.
It's probably like 7-ish, 7.5, something like
think.
that. So, that's comparable to a lead acid battery, and then I don't think you can never get as much power out of a lead acid as you can out of a
Well, the worst thing
lithium.
I'll do that. I'll try it. And we're already packing DeWalt batteries.
Yep.
So
We'll
then I
already
can
have
just
some
start
spares.
swapping them out, and we'll start rolling. And dude,
let's do
we'll
that.
be powered by. Maybe we should send DeWalt an email and see, hey.
I hope they're listening in. If someone from DeWalt is out there, please contact us at contact@shortrodshow.com.
Yeah.
We'd love to talk to you. But moving on to, I have a little fan that I want to talk about that's just super cool. When you're talking like tchotchke type trick your trap stuff,
Yep.
the fan was a great purchase. So, when you're in your shelter, you run your heater. The
heat goes to the top.
The heat goes right to the top, right down by the ice level, and by your feet, by your legs, everything is cold.
Yep.
This little fan is a little USB rechargeable clamp-on desk fan that came from Amazon. I think it was $10 or $12, and you can recharge it by USB. It runs for 8-10 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I've never really run it low, run it out, but I just leave it on low, clamp it right to the top of the otter, and just blow air back down.
Well, the worst thing, if you started running an issue, so as it gets old, you start to run into an issue, you just get a long USB cord. You can plug it right into your DeWalt battery, and you can just run it plugged in all the time.
Just having that kind of commonality across things is really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
So nowadays, everything runs off of USB. So if you have access to a couple USB ports, especially if you're running off of DeWalt batteries that you can change out easily, boom, there you go.
Yep.
That's perfect.
The biggest problem is we're running into a USB conversion thing here, where you got some USB-Cs, you got some older USB-type ports, and
I feel like the ice fishing technology hasn't caught up to that quite yet,
but
it'll
we're
get
running
there.
into that a little bit now.
It'll get there.
All right, we got 3 rods sitting in front of us as well, Ben.
Yeah, my 3 rods that are kind of my go-tos. I don't know how many rods I have. I have a lot.
Yeah.
The number one, which I just got last year, can't say enough good things about, is the tuned-up custom bullwhip.
Yep.
And the bullwhip is extremely versatile. I use it basically on everything.
Really, yeah. That's the first weapon you're running
That's
every
the
time.
first rod that comes out. It's the last one to go away. There's really not a lot of bites that I can't chase with that. It's a 32-inch, just the standard version. I didn't do anything fancy. I bought it off the shelf at Shields. Got it for Christmas last year.
Yeah.
And just really cool setup. So I'm running these iconic ice grip.
Oh, those bands?
The iconic bands, the orange bands to clamp a Okuma Seimar 10 reel, which
Okuma is my go-to reel anymore.
Fantastic for the money. I mean, $35 on Amazon.
They're a good deal.
Very,
now I saw they have a bait
nice.
feeder now that they're coming out with too.
Yeah,
I'd be excited to try that.
Those are like maybe $45.
I'd be interested to run that as a dead stick rod.
Yep.
Bait feeder, I think that'd be sweet.
I like the bait feeder concept. We should get into that. More this year.
I might pick up one of those.
But the Okuma has an extra long stem on it, so it's made for using with gloves. It just fits the rod really well.
Well, so I know you had an accident with your first one, your first bullwhip. Talk a little bit about your first bullwhip, and then again, your customer service experience with Tuned Up Custom.
Yeah, very good. I last year was out fishing with a buddy, Brandon, out on up in Minnesota, just tearing through the horrible amount of snow we had last year up there. A couple feet of snow. Just we stuck the snowmobile in the snow.
You were doing that more than fishing.
We were not doing a lot of fishing. So we decided to go ultralight, threw a couple rods in our backpacks, tear off across the lake. I go to sling my backpack off my shoulder, and the bullwhip falls right out, basically tipped down on the ice.
Ugh.
Breaks off the tip about 3 eyelets down. So I was just devastated. we were basically just...
You just got it.
We basically just gave up at that point. I mean, I had it for a month and broke it. Was pretty frustrated with it. And, of course, what did we do next? We did a little retail therapy, went over to Reed's up in Walker, and bought an exact model replacement.
Yep.
And started doing some checking on Tuned Up's website, and noticed they had a $50 no questions asked return policy or warranty on these rods. So whoever's fault it was, didn't matter. They would replace your rod for $50. So shipped it back to them, all the pieces of it. There's 2 pieces to it. And they said, hey, sorry to hear about what happened. I gave them a little backstory.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've heard some hilarious stories on how these things are broken.
Yep, so they shipped me a brand new one. So now I have 2 bullwhips. So even better. These will be my go-to. The lithium shuttle has 2 rod holders, so I'll have 2 bullwhips in it.
I mean, it's super nice that it's just, convenient. Chip them in, chip them out. Good to go.
There are a couple bites that I don't use the bullwhip for, believe it or not. I have a ultralight Fraybill, a pretty cheap rod.
When they say noodle rod, this is a noodle.
$10 or $12 rod.
This thing's made of a spaghetti noodle, basically.
Yeah, and I have one. Actually, that has 1 pound line. Forgot about that the other day. That's some 1 pound mono on it. Right now, of course, we're on the Widowmaker caddis jig on there. But basically, I use that for very light crappie bites, very light bluegill bites.
Yep.
First ice type bites, and that's the one that's real finesse. I mean, extremely finesse. So that just has a straight inline reel too. It's a little cheap Fraybill 1-to-1 reel.
What annoys me the most about those inline reels is that they don't have any noise when you're pulling drag.
Yeah, no click.
Because you can't see. I mean, you're running 1 pound line. You really can't tell if the fish is pulling drag, if they're coming in. I need that noise confirmation that I'm pulling drag.
Yep.
That's the one thing that I really don't like about the inline reels. Otherwise, they're great.
And
great
that one's not geared, so I mean, it takes a while. If you're fishing 20 feet
to
of
get
water
used to it, yeah.
I mean, you're cranking a lot.
What's fun is it makes a 6-inch bluegill feel like you're fighting a freaking marlin out there. Yeah.
It makes you feel good when you're fishing
they're
small
fun.
Fish. And then the other one to showcase would be a Scheels tournament rod, for $20.
For the quality of that rod and for the cost, that thing's the juice.
And then I got on the old free fall bandwagon last year.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to them. I wanted to try them out and see how they fished. They're good for some types of fishing, but I'm definitely not sold on them.
No.
I'll take a spinning rod, the same R series now.
Yep.
Over that, but have a one of the Ghost free fall Black Betty.
What I do like about that is the large handle. I do like about that because a lot of times you're running gloves and you got plenty of that oversized handle for that size of a reel. I do like that about it, but again, there's no noise when it's pulling drag, so you don't know for sure if you're pulling drag or not.
Yep. They seem to freeze up a lot too.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. If you're out in extreme temperatures. Any reel's going to freeze up on you, but it seems like the spinning reels hold up a lot better when it's extremely cold. This Black Betty the free fall, you lose all free fall function.
Yeah. It's nice you don't get line twist out of those free falls, but you also, when you're dropping that jig down, a lot of times it keeps spinning. If you hit the bottom with your jig, that fall keeps spinning, and then you kind of end up with almost a bird's nest situation in there. And then when you're on the ice and you're cold, things start freezing up. That's a disaster situation.
Yep. Don't run the free fall with any type of braid in any cold weather. If you're out hole hopping.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I really wouldn't
that's
run
a
much
mess.
for braid anyways. I'm not a huge fan of braid on the water.
Yeah. We'll do an episode on the different types of line that we like to run, and there's so many different types out there that warrants a whole nother
Yeah, we'll
episode.
talk about line. I need to respool some line on my stuff. We'll do that episode while I'm respooling line or something and run with that. Well, you got anything else you want to add, Ben?
Oh, I think that covers it. I mean, we're sitting here, like I said, with a ton of gear, and just wanted to showcase what works for me as an ice fisherman, and then by extension, Brett, too, since we fish together so much. But really, we're constantly dialing in our approach.
And feel free to
what's
ask
fun.
any questions, or if you have any comments or some suggestions for us. I would imagine we'll get a lot of questions about the DeWalt power situations.
Yeah.
But if you guys have any suggestions for us on how we can upgrade things or improve what we have, we'd love to hear.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate the listen, and make sure you go on and comment and subscribe to get some updates about the show. You can find us all over. Thanks for listening, guys, to The Short Rod Show.